Hi everyone and welcome to Dennis Deep Cuts, the 45th installment of this fine YouTube series. Today we're going to talk about the cheapest records in my record collection. Let's see what happens. So one of the first episodes I ever did, I rummaged through my record collection and I busted out the 10 cheapest LPs, and I talked about them a little bit, about why I had them, what they were, and if I'm going to keep them. And I'm going to do the exact same thing today, but with 7 inches. 7 inches are usually way more expensive when they're expensive, but they're way cheaper when they're cheap. So once again, we're going to dive into, does the value of the record have anything to do with how good the records are? So let's see, 10 7 inches. Am I going to keep them? What are they? Are they good? What's the cheapest one? I took the medium price on Discogs and just the 10 records with the lowest medium price, and let's see what we got. So the most expensive 7 inch out of the 10 I picked out, it clocks in at $1.50, and it's the Boomtown Rats, Someone's Looking at You, from 1979. Boomtown Rats was, of course, from Dublin, Ireland, and maybe in the end mostly well known because of Bob Geldof and Live Aid and all that stuff. They put out a bunch of pretty decent records, and Someone's Looking at You is the first song on their third record, The Art of Surfacing, which also includes the #1 hit, I Don't Like Mondays. Someone's Looking at You did reach top 10 in the UK. It's a pretty good song. I like the B-side a little bit better, When the Night Comes, very Elvis Costello-esque. It's a really cool track. I got rid of most of my Boomtown Rats LPs a while back. I kept the first one, and I kept a bunch of the 7 inches. I'm gonna keep holding on to this one because it's pretty decent. Number 9 on the list clocks in at $1.49. It's Standoff. Worthless is the unity bought at the expense of truth. Standoff was a UK straight edge hardcore band. This 7 inch from 1993. It's fairly decent, not anything spectacular, but it's fairly decent. And it's also, last episode I talked about Man Lifting Banner and that whole scene, and the record label Crucial Response Records, and this is also released on Crucial Response, and which is a good enough reason to hold on to it. Also, there's a song on the Refused Records Songs to Fan the Flames of Discontent called Worthless is the Freedom Bought at the Expense of Truth, which David wrote the lyrics to, and I think he used the Worthless is the unity bought at the expense of truth title from this record. You know what they say, great art is steal. But yeah, I'm holding on to Standoff. If you would like some semi-generic early 90s straight edge hardcore, I think this is pretty decent. Number 8, $1.39, and this is also not really a Refused reference, but it's good. They're called the New Beats. Run Baby Run from 1965. The New Beats were like a vocal group from outside of LA. I think they had a big hit in 1964 with the song Bread and Butter. And this is it's a bit of a banger, actually. It's like one of those like very soulful, up-tempo, sounds a little bit like something out of Motown, or maybe like the whole girl group, Phil Spector kind of thing. Yeah, definitely hanging on to this one. I got a pretty big collection of like 50s and 60s 7 inches, and I went through them all, and this is one of the ones I kept, the New Beats. It's also the title of their third album. Yeah. The next 7 inch is worth $1.33. It's from 1999. It's a Computer Cougar with their one and only 7 inch. Computer Cougar is one of those post-punk, post-hardcore type of bands from the East Coast. They're part of the Gern Blendstein scene. Gern Blendstein is a really cool record label. Put out stuff like Chisel, Van Pelt, Rye Coalition, some really cool stuff. Members of this band used to be in bands like Rorschach. The singer guy, I think, was from Rorschach, but he's also the guy that runs the record label. And there's also a guy that used to play drums in Born Against. So there's some cool stuff. There's 2 songs, and they're named after how fast they go, like the BPMs of the songs. And the slow one is really cool. It has that late 90s sort of post-punk, not emo, but that kind of emo style with like dissonant guitars and some shouting vocals. And it's a pretty cool 7-inch, and I'm also keeping this one just because of the connection to all the other great music out there. So, yeah. $1.31. Ice 9 out of Indianapolis. Some screaming hardcore from 1996. Ice 9 is one of those bands that put out maybe 5-7 inches. They did a split with Charles Bronson. The band, not the movie star. And it's noisy. It's like blast beats, kind of like a little bit of power violence, but just like really noisy hardcore in that era of like mid-90s. And the artwork's horrible. The record looks horrible. And it's one of those 7 inches that, yeah, it's actually pretty good. Noisy, screaming, violent, fast. But yeah, the artwork makes me not want to keep it, but I might keep it. We'll see. Ice 9. $1.23 from 1986. You have the House Martins hit single, Caravan of Love. House Martins were like an 80s indie pop band, kind of in the vein of the Smiths. They started in Hull, and they released 2 albums. They're both pretty good. One interesting fact is that they were Christian Marxists. Take Marx, take Jesus, take hope, I think was their slogan. They recorded this 7-inch. It's not on any of the records, and it's an a cappella version of a cover of Isley, Jasper, and Isley, which was an offshoot of the Isley Brothers. And this became like their biggest hit. It's quite fascinating. The B-side's also like a gospel song that they do a cappella, and then on the back of the 7-inch they write like they used to dabble with pop music, but now they're doing a cappella. I like the House Martins a lot. I think it's cool, and also the fact that it's not on their albums, so you got to keep the 7-inch, of course. Half of the House Martins went on to form the Beautiful South, and Norman Cook from the House Martins went on to become Fatboy Slim. And there you go. Let's stick around in the UK for some more UK pop. This one's worth $1.18, and it's Blue Sue with their 7-inch Cry Baby Cry from 1982. Blue Sue's like a UK pop band that put out 1 album, and Cry Baby Cry was a moderate hit, I would say, from that album. It's fine. A friend of mine gave this to me, honestly, like 3 days ago, and he said, check out the B-side. And the B-side's called Off the Market Dub, and it sounds like Public Image Limited. And it's super cool. It's like a really rad track. I immediately added it to my funk punk playlist if I'm ever going to DJ. And it's definitely worth keeping the 7-inch around just for that track. I mean, the A-side's fine, but the B-side's something completely like really propulsive, cool post-punk stuff. Yeah, check out the B-side of the run, Cry Baby Cry 7-inch. All right, the next one you can buy from $1.16, Swedish hardcore from 1997. They're called Last Match. They're one of those noisy, screaming hardcore bands from Sweden. I always felt that they didn't like us. But then I befriended Henrik the singer, is a really nice guy. And the last match actually is a pretty cool band. They put out 2 7-inches and a bunch of tracks for different compilations. Half of the band went on to form a band called Trapped or Fucking Exit. It's also really rad. And of course, I'm saving the last match 7-inch. They're a part of our world, even though they're more part of the late 90s, like thrash, hardcore sort of vibe. But it's a cool 7-inch. All right, the last 2 7-inches. This one's $1.79. It's from Canada. It's called Monster Voodoo Machine, which is not a great name. Monster Voodoo Machine is a Canadian band. It was around from 1991 to 1998. And it's that kind of industrial metal of that time, like White Zombie, Marilyn Manson, that type of vibe. The title track on this 7-inch is actually a pretty decent song, and then the B-side is a Discharge cover. You know, it's kind of cool. And I guess in Canada they were kind of a big deal. I mean, they toured with Carcass and Marilyn Manson and so on and so forth. And the 7-inch is produced by Paul Raven of Killing Joke. So they had a lot going for them, and I think they were a pretty decently big band in Canada in the 90s. Might keep the 7-inch. I mean, the name's really bad 90s name, and the music's very 90s, but as I said, the title track, Get On With It. Yeah, it's not a bad song. Yeah, you know, a buck, why not? Let's remain in Canada for the cheapest 7-inch in my collection. $1 maybe. And this is a guy who made the LP list. It's Philip Rambo. And if you remember anything from that list, I got rid of the Philip Rambo record. I didn't like it. And I'm getting rid of the 7-inch. I think for a period of time, I bought a lot of what you call power pop or like punk pop from the 70s and early 80s. And I think Philip Rambo got lumped into that category. This is a song from his second record, A Star. This song is called A Star, and the second record is called Jungle Law. And this is way more Billy Joel than it is Elvis Costello. It's actually not a great 7-inch, so I'm getting rid of it. If you want it, send me a DM on Instagram or something, and I'll send it to you for free. The first person that sends me a DM about wanting to get the Philip Rambo 7-inch, you will get the Philip Rambo 7-inch. Yeah, and there you have it. 10 7-inches that didn't cost anything. And I was got to say, a good amount of them pretty good. I was pleasantly surprised. I usually do it like once every other week or third week. I'll bust out a bunch of 7-inches. Just listen to 7-inches all day. It's wonderful. Yeah. Until next time, stay well, my friends. Bye-bye.